Major funding for this program is provided by the Paramount Theater Foundation, promoting quality of life for the citizens of Goldsboro and Wayne County and preserving the historic Paramount Theater downtown. This program is also made possible by the generous donations of the R.A. Bryan Foundation, in loving memory of Gene and Everett Barefoot, R.A. Jeffries Distributing Company, Betsy and Danny Summerlin, the Arts Council of Wayne County, and by these good friends. Thank you.
First off, I want to tell you we are the Malpass Brothers, and there's two things I want to go ahead and get out of the way. First off, yes, we really talk like this. We're from Goldsboro, North Carolina. And the second thing, yes, this is really our hair.
I'm walking the floor over you. I can't sleep a wink, that is true. I'm hoping and I'm praying as my heart breaks right in two. Walking the floor over you.
The Malpass boys are just unbelievable. And you know, it goes back to their hearts.
The Malpass Brothers have that love of the music, and they have the love for the heritage.
It's amazing the history that Christopher and Taylor know about old country music, to be the young people they are.
If you see them backstage or at home, at work, they're always the same.
We like their style on stage, the songs that they sing. What you see is the real deal.
And they're the same if they're playing to 30, 40 people in a small country church or to thousands of people in an auditorium.
It's real. And you don't find that much at all anymore in the entertainment business.
Them boys are just like right now they were the first time I ever saw them here. They ain't never thought they were better than anybody else. They never looked down on anybody.
Taylor and Chris are just naturally good people. Not only give respect, but receive respect. And of course that respect is earned.
The interaction that they have with the audience is something that many artists spend a career trying to master, and they do it so gracefully and graciously.
When you see them in concert, that's not an act. They mean every chord they strike on the guitar. They mean every word they sing.
I can't say that I know of any family hardly around that's any tighter than they are.
They're a family unit. They invite everyone in. They create that tight-knit feeling with 500 people in their audience.
Everywhere we go, we just pack the house. People are hungry for this music.
The old is new again. I mean, they're a throwback to an era that's gone by, but they do it their way, and they do it in a young way.
I thought they churned their own butter. I mean, do they have electricity? But you wouldn't meet two finer guys anywhere you go. They're the most respectful, honest, sweet guys.
You fall in love with them through music. Just being around them is a thrill to me.
They're what you see is what you get. And all them sideburns, they do not let me touch their sideburns.
They're nothing but a crowd pleaser, I'll tell you that.
They have a love for life. They have a joy. It's almost like they kind of carry you back to a time in the world when things were a little bit more simple and a little bit more basic. And it's like you can still kind of connect to that.
Walking the floor over here. Oh, great, I feel good tonight. Down, down, down. Remember, I'm Elvis.
Christopher and Taylor Malpass count Elvis Presley as an early influence in their music. They grew up in Goldsboro in eastern North Carolina, where they made a career performing the traditional country music they love. To understand the Malpass Brothers, you really need to know the whole family. Their mother, Andrea, beloved elementary teacher in town, is now retired but helps with the bookings and merchandise. Daddy Chris, who also grew up in Goldsboro, plays bass in the band. Christopher is married to Linda and they have a son, Barrett. Younger brother Taylor has a new bride, Whitney. The past year has brought big changes. The Malpass Brothers have traveled to some 50 performances across 14 states. That's more than 20,000 miles on the road away from home. In spite of their growing popularity, the Malpass Brothers are struggling with how to build their career. In these times of rapid digital change, just what does it mean to be successful in the music business? Just what does it mean to make it?
I don't know why we do this music. I don't know how it happened. You know, we heard it, and it's all we ever wanted to do.
They never really had any desire to do what the other kids were interested in doing. They have never been interested in video games, never been interested in things that normal children were interested in.
I took this old John Deere here that my daddy played with when he was little.
They're very well grounded. You know, their roots mean everything to them. They're very traditional, slow to change. Christopher more so than Taylor. Taylor adapts to changes better. He's an older man in a 30-year-old's body, and he's always thought that way. I mean, he's always related better to older people, older music, old cars, old buildings, old country stores.
The old country store that means the most belonged to their Goldsboro grandparents, Christine and Robert Malpass. The boys call them Ma and Ha Ha.
He ran kind of like a little beer tap most of his life. He was there 6 days a week from 9 in the morning to midnight.
He opened it in 1960 as Malpass Service Station. And then about 68 or so, it became so popular that it couldn't sell anything anymore because people were hanging up here so much, and it became a sort of a honky-tonk.
Well, why don't you love me like you used to?
It looked completely different at the time. It had the two columns like all the old stores do, and this wooden part you drove under. And they would have, you know, gatherings out there. They'd be cooking oysters or whatever. I mean, it was such a popular place. They said they had the coldest beer in town. Every bit of music that we know came from this store because my granddaddy would keep the 45 records when they changed them off the jukebox and bring them home, and that's where we learned our songs.
He gets a lot of credit, but then my wife's dad gets a lot of credit too, because what's so strange, my daddy ran the little tavern. Her daddy was a Methodist minister.
Just about everybody in Roxboro, North Carolina remembers the Reverend Tom Holtzclaw.
We came to this church in 1973. My husband grew up in a musical family. He was number 7 in a family of 8. And all of his brothers and sister played musical instruments.
Tom's enthusiasm and love for the Lord, I see that enthusiasm for life in the boys. And I do see Tom and Taylor's young looks, I do. I see a real spirit and enthusiasm of giving your all when you're performing. And Christopher,
I grew up in the mountains of West Virginia. I don't have a Wayne County accent like these grandsons have.
That's right.
That's right.
I always told him, I said, you got the best of both worlds. You got the honky-tonk blend and you got the gospel blend, which is the perfect blend for country music.
This was my grandparents' house. Grandma worked the night shift, and they just had the whole front den to play in. And we had little toy tractors and everything. We'd listen to records all day until Mama got home from school. It all got started in this living room. And we'd sit over here on this couch and play guitars. He would sing and play, and we'd listen to records.
There's that album right there. That's what started me, really. Troy Pride's what got me interested.
I'm calling from the station and I haven't got much time to let you know.
My grandfather told me, he said, this is only a 3-chord song now. He said, but that's all you need is 3 chords to sing a country song.
I walked into the living room, she was standing there with her suitcase. I'd crossed the line she had drawn, tears were running down her face.
You know, it's not like somebody said you need to do this. It's just a passion, and I have never wanted to do anything else. We got to do a song we wrote tomorrow night. You know, and a lot of times I don't sit down to write them, they just come.
We wrote this one about the late, great Johhny Cash. We had a request for it called The Man in Black, Wearing White.
We loved Hank Williams, loved Merle Haggard, loved George Jones, Tom T. Hall, anything traditional country. And we listened to old music and stuff, and you think you hear stuff that people wrote about and sang about, and it's like, that stuff makes sense.
I won't forget the day that great legend passed away. The tears I must have cried when I heard my hero die. But I know he's got some songs on the charts up in the line, 'cause the man in black wearing white.
And this music was so real. I mean, you had to be able to play, you had to be able to sing. There was so much, like your clothes, your hair, it was just a lot of sparkle to it. Now and I'm not knocking them, you know. I mean, I'm glad that these new country singers are doing what they're doing, and young people enjoy it, and that's good. But to me, it just doesn't make sense. I don't get, nothing touches my heart or makes me cry hearing songs about, you know, four-wheel drive trucks and stuff. I want to hear something about people's life experiences.
As she climbed into that yellow cab, the blue skies around me turned to gray. With my broken heart, two empty arms through tear-filled eyes, I watched love die that day. She said, I've always been your woman, you've never been my man. You don't give me any love, well, I give you all the love I can.
Sometimes when I'm behind them watching them, it's almost surreal. You know, it's them two, and I'll think back to some of our musical heroes, and I'm going, you know, this is probably what it was really like, you know, when the Louvins were singing, or when Hank Williams were singing, or Fair and Young, you know.
Loving you anymore.
If you read anything about the history of country music, the Louvin Brothers, they hold the top rung of the ladder for duets.
If I ever stop loving you'd rather be dead. Well, there, I don't know what on earth changed your mind. No matter who's holding you, your heart is still mine.
Ira and Charlie wrote most of their songs. All their songs were great songs, great story songs. They had a beginning, a middle, and an ending. And I think we all relate to lyrics, you know, and then the melody catches us. And to me, that's what's missing today.
This was Mr. Charlie Louvin's guitar, and we've got it tonight, and it's part of the band. We consider it part of the band because he was such a hero to us. And we're going to do you a Louvin Brothers song right now that Jimmy Capps kind of made the guitar break famous. On this one, it's one called I Can't Keep You in Love With Me. It must have been an awful...
Christopher and Taylor loved the Louvin Brothers. The first gospel song they ever recorded was the Louvins' Love Thy Neighbor. And they say their favorite album is the Louvins' Satan is Real.
And when you're
the Louvin Brothers, Ira and Charlie, were popular in the late 1950s and early 1960s. Older brother Ira played mandolin and sang high tenor. Charlie was steadier, playing rhythm guitar and singing harmony. Jimmy Capps is one of North Carolina's most treasured musicians. He grew up in Benson, not far from Goldsboro, and by the time he was a teenager, he was playing guitar with the Smile a Wild Boys.
People in Carolina are over 50 years old. They'll know who the Smile a Wild Boys were. It was Jim Thornton, who later on did a show called Saturday Night Country Style on WTVD.
Jimmy Capps was soon drawn to Nashville to play for the Louvin Brothers and to join the Grand Ole Opry. His career has been marked by...
I think that's what I fell in love with, and I never have fell out.
Faron Young was considered one of the great voices of his era. He moved to Nashville in 1952 with a hit song written by Don Gibson of North Carolina, Sweet Dreams. He also recorded Hello Walls by an unknown Willie Nelson, and Taylor Malpass carries on his tradition.
Hello, women. Well, I see that you're still here. Don't you miss her? Since my darling disappeared. Well, now look here, it's not a teardrop in the cup of your pain. Don't you try to tell me that it's plain.
Much obliged, P, and all the friends and neighbors. Let us see.
Jimmy Capps says the Malpass Brothers are the natural extension of the long North Carolina tradition of excellence in country music.
Bring the old 5-string and let's do Earl Scruggs.
And Earl Scruggs was a genius, you know, and an inventor. Man, he invented the fingerstyle of 5-string banjo playing. Before then, everybody was playing clawhammer or tenor banjo, you know. But when he started playing, he took it to another plateau. And now everyone plays like Earl Scruggs. I mean, everyone.
Everybody's going out and having fun.
And then Don Gibson from Shelby, I think. And he played rhythm different than anyone. What a talent. George Hamilton IV. He was going to school at Chapel Hill. And he got a recording contract on Colonial Records. I can't name all the hits he had, and I mean, they were big, big records, and he was one of a kind, and one of the kindest people I've ever met.
George Hamilton IV was one of the first to recognize and promote the Malpass Brothers. He introduced them to friends in Nashville like Don Helms, who had played steel guitar for Hank Williams.
This is Channel 3, WBTV in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Who's calling, please? Carolina calling. Put them on.
There can be no discussion of country music in North Carolina, of course, without mention of Arthur Smith and the Cracker Jacks. Their daily television show, Carolina Calling, set the standard for performers throughout the region. Arthur Smith influenced an entire generation of guitar players, from Glenn Campbell to Eric Clapton. His Guitar Boogie was the first song ever performed by Paul McCartney. And when Arthur Smith revived his show in 2001 on public television, his youngest guests were right at home.
Really great bluegrass, and you're going to hear it now.
While going down life's weary road, I try to live some traveler's load. I try to turn the night to day, make flowers bloom along the way. Life's evening sun, it's singing love up your morning, and I must go to the that I have done, where there will be no setting sun,
That's what Whitney says.
The Malpass Brothers are jointly managed by an agency in Nashville and by Stephen Barefoot in North Carolina. And when it's time to discuss schedules and contracts, the whole family is involved.
Has he talked to you all about that possible live on stage showcase in July in Nashville?
No. The wedding's that Saturday.
Your
right?
wedding is September 30th.
I know, but the wedding, it's on Saturday, right?
You don't know when we're getting married?
I'm saying, I know it's the 30th.
A calendar meeting in March turned into a discussion of whether the whole family should move to Nashville.
The really aggravating thing about it is there can't just one of us go. If one of this crowd goes, the whole crowd has to go.
We travel in.
Well, one goes, we all go. I don't want you to think that we're going to like fly to Coop or nothing, because wherever we go, we want to keep our
Yeah, like
group.
it or not, you're kind of hooked in.
Why don't you get in the Malpass culture? You have to die in order to get out of it. So.
Gosh.
That's the only way you can get out.
At night we drink, that Kool-Aid.
Together.
And we say a chant, we all say
It's
a
their
chant.
own-
Malpass forever.
This is a song that I wrote about Mr. Merle. My wife and I and Taylor flew out to Mr. Merle's house.
Merle Haggard is one of the Malpass Brothers' early heroes, and they were thrilled to be invited to open for him while Taylor was still in high school.
Because now when you see him, it's not like you only get a chance to see his music. You get a chance to kind of know him. See, I mean, he interacts with the audience so much.
There's no more cheating songs or anything like there's no chance for anyone to cheat. Can you imagine Hank Williams on a cell phone?
Proves what we're all trying to prove. Real music will endure.
They thought it was the break that they were looking for. Christopher and Taylor toured regularly with Merle for the last 7 years of his life and recorded a CD on his label, Hag Records.
They call him a country music legend, poet of the common man, they say, a voice for all the underdogs and prisoners, the soldiers and farmers' blues he sang. Well, he never knew just what he meant to music, and the likes of him won't be matched in this world. I just had to take some words to tell my feelings, so I'll just call the song My Time with Merle.
Don Helms was the legendary pedal steel player on more than 100 songs with Hank Williams. Helms was a hero to Christopher and Taylor, and back in 2007, he invited them to play with him.
I am Don Helms, and the first time that I ever walked on the stage with Hank Williams, he was a 22-year-old cowboy with a white hat and a white shirt and black pants. And we started a style of music. It went like this. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So Don got me up to do a couple of songs, and I guess he was thinking, well, he does Hank Williams, everybody does Hank. And after I did those couple, he looked at me and said, you want to do some more? So I did some more, and then later Don had a stroke later that year, and when he started recovering, he needed somebody to travel with him, and he needed somebody who could sing the Hank songs like Hank did, and it worked out great. I worked for about 3 years with Don and traveled all over the country in a big old Lincoln town car and learned every Hank Williams story you can learn. So it was hard because I was young and first time traveling on it, but it was valuable, paying your dues. Here's the deal. I had already thought about it, some moving to Nashville. When we first got married, Linda tried to get me to do it, but
That would seem the natural place for you to end up.
we had worked there with Merle, and it didn't have that vibe. It felt kind of like real cliquish. You're not in the circle. Well, then Bill Anderson said, it's a lot going on there that you can be, if somebody calls, you're there. Like if you have a cancellation, whatever, they see your face around town. If we try to get an apartment out there to go stay at periods of time or whatever, then we would do that in the next 4 or 5 months, but we'd still be living here. We just have somewhere where we could go out there and stay a week at a time or whatever.
I think you need to do that like 6 months.
I started saying, I don't think a couple of months.
Yeah, 6 months.
I would hate to see you move to Nashville right now and be one of 1,000 other people moving to Nashville to become a star. I want you to move to Nashville, just like you're saying, when people there know your name when you arrive. And you're not going there
unknown.
Exactly.
They mean a lot to Eastern North Carolina, and particularly Goldsboro. This is where they're from.
I've known them since they were little boys. And they would come out here when we'd have a dinner or something and just sing for us.
Goldsboro it's a southern town, and it's got that charm, but also it's got so many people that we've got an Air Force base here, so you have a lot of different cultural backgrounds and all that, so that's different. But a lot of people that come here from somewhere else wind up coming back here.
Well, it's a good town. I've lived all over the United States, and I came back.
One of the things that I love is that you can't go anywhere that you don't see somebody else that you know, that you've experienced something with.
Everybody knows everybody. It's a neat little town. There's a guy, Mr. David Will. He's really brought downtown back, and a lot of the community owes that to him, I think, for bringing it back. And there's a lot of small businesses that are opening down there.
We do have great leadership here. They've done a phenomenal job reconstructing downtown, and it's been expanding and growing out.
Goldsboro has gone through a big revamping of downtown, and it's beautiful. You know, it's very beautiful down there. It's a lot of heritage.
This is a community, just like so many others, that has had extreme loss. One of the things that I've noticed too about the boys is whenever there is some kind of benefit, you're going to see their name there because they're going to be there to give back.
Well, the Paramount's partly where we started. We played there when we were 10, 11 years old on up, and people from Goldsboro were very supportive of those shows.
The older Paramount Theater burned in 2005, so that just really devastated everyone.
It was hard for us to see something like that go because it was so historical for us and for Goldsboro.
Since we reopened, they were here with us within the first year, and we created an event based around them, what we called the Best of Wayne. We're here in Wayne County, and they are some of the best that we have.
Welcome back. This is your ninth visit, I think, at the Paramount.
Glad to be here.
More than any other performer, and I'm delighted to welcome you.
Well, we owe a lot to you in this town, and thank you so much.
Thank you, fellas.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Well, there ain't no use to tarry. Let's start out tonight.
Anytime that the boys do a show here in Goldsboro, it's always packed out full. People of all ages are there, and it's just wonderful to see the outpouring love for the guys.
Playing the Paramount, it's one of the hardest shows we do because you're in front of your hometown, but it's also a very humbling show to do because usually it's sold out.
Well, we'll go honky-tonk, every spot in town, we'll go to the Farber's Dog.
Goldsboro's been good to us. When you come home and you got people that know you from other than music and come out to hear you, that means a lot.
People know that they play music and they go and do these really interesting, cool things with superstars and everything else, but when they're around town, they're the same old boys that everybody knew them as when they were 10 years old, you know, at their ha-ha store. So it's super interesting, the dynamic that they live. It's literally part-time star.
Let's put white wall tires on it.
Why would you put white walls on it?
Because that's what it needs for them hubcaps. They don't look right.
It doesn't.
If you go over there to their house now, you might find them literally this afternoon working on an old antique truck or a tractor or something because they like doing that. They got a bunch of old trucks and cars and mess they're constantly working on and repairing and restoring, buying and selling.
This is a 75 Chevrolet Scottsdale. And my granddaddy taught me how to play. When I was growing up, he had one just like it. But I bought this one from a fella and completely redid it just like my granddaddy. So this is a daily driver. I drive it all the time. She's not perfect, but she's also 40-something years old.
When I tell people that they were on the road for 6 or 7 years with Merle Haggard, and when the show's over, they would beat it back to North Carolina because they had to go to work the next morning. And the people are going, what?
As y'all know, we have a very hectic tour schedule, and we work too. In fact, I was at work this morning until about 1 o'clock. So were you, sir? I'm sure you were. And Terry, do you want to tell them who you work for?
I work for Mr. Randy Gray here in Goldsboro, CRG Farm. Sitting over here. He's a good man.
And I work for Mr. Shane Smith at Jennings Transmissions. They're sitting back here, Miss Janet. And it really means a lot to be able to go and come and do what we're trying to do, making a living with music.
Started here about 8 or 9 years ago because I wanted to learn mechanical stuff, and I just was really interested in working on cars. Well, this is a servo. This holds the band, holds your drums, and I'm just gonna put a sealing ring on it. Takes a blue one if you ever have to do this at home. Hey, bud, how y'all doing?
We're doing good.
Doing good? How you doing, Mr. James?
I bet my fans wouldn't know me, my flannels and faded blue jeans, when I trade my black Tony llamas for a pair of steel-toed Wolverines. I pick up my wrenches and ratchets, and I lay down this Martin guitar. Lord, this sure is a heck of a living, being a part-time star. I go from the glamour spotlights to busted knuckles and grease.
I do a little bit of everything, from cutting ground to planting to working on trailers and equipment, and so we do kind of everything, and I love it. I love farming almost equally as I do music. I love both of them, so I'm a lucky man.
But for now, it's grease guns and daydreams, just being a part-time star.
So it gets to work out there in the summertime, but it's my buddy. I love this tractor.
It's got a V8 350 Chevy motor and 350 transmission. Like 350s are what kind of built this place.
We want a transmission built that's going to last 5 years.
Yes, sir.
Minimum.
Yes, sir. I think we'll do it here the way we do them.
You're the man for a job.
I hope so. Well, the thing about these cars is the style. You know, there's so much style, and each one was unique, kind of like the singers and the songs. As soon as you saw or heard Johhny Cash, you knew who it was. Same way with this car. When you see it coming down the road, there's no mistaking it's a '57 Chevy. We were touring with Merle Haggard, and we were gone month at a time sometimes, and I needed somewhere that somebody would work with me. And I talked to Shane and Jennings, and they were willing to do that. So I got the best of both worlds. I got to learn a craft I wanted to learn while I was still doing what I really love, music.
Wandering in the wilderness much too long, and it's time to go back home. I know Jesus.
We were down at the cow pasture on this tractor, and he said, "You remind me of somebody I knew a long time ago." He said his name was Robert. And I said, "Robert Malpass?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, that was my granddaddy." And it turns out they were best friends in the 50s and 60s. Mike would sing Charlie Pride songs all the time.
Go back home.
Woo! Cut, 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 cut. Our granddaddy, he worked harder than probably anybody I've ever met. And he worked every day from sun up to sundown to look after his family. And we were always taught, if you can work, then you need to get out and do it. And even if we made it with the music, you know, I'd still do this. just watching, last year was my first year actually planting, and I planted corn. And you know, you put that first seed in the ground and you wonder, is it gonna come up? You know? And it's so rewarding when you go out there and at harvesting, and the crop that you put in the ground is providing for people in America and all around the world to eat. And you know, it's just that's amazing to me. And that's the thing I get out of it. I love it.
That's my old classic there. I got another one at home, a '64 Ford Galaxy that I drive some. And but I don't get it out as much as I do this one. This one's a little more dependable. You got to make sure you can get back and forth to work when you're punching the clock.
Hey, tonight, if y'all come to see us, we'll be dressed in our best Western gear. I'll sing with all I've got in me, and I'm sure you'll enjoy what you hear. Hey, tonight may be just what I'm needing, be the break that gives me the jar, that'll push me from heartaches and troubles of being a part-time star, just being a part-time star.
This broadcast is being sent all over the world on streaming audio. So if you're out there listening in a foreign country, we send you best wishes from Johnston County, one of the most beautiful places that I know anything about.
And I was about 3 or 4 years old, and I would sit under the table and I would mimic the announcer.
Mr. Carl Lamb is the walking encyclopedia when it comes to music, and he's on air every afternoon from probably about 1 to 3 or 4. And he's a big supporter of these guys.
You have a great fan base, and it's getting bigger. And I think you're going back to Nashville, Tennessee sometime right away.
We are. We'll be leaving Thursday morning, and we'll be playing in Greenville, Tennessee, and then we'll be headed to Memphis, Tennessee.
What's happening here, the Malpass Brothers, still true to the true roots of country music, are rapidly becoming big stars in America. And I think one day, before too long, you can well be assured that they will be elected to the Country Music Hall of Fame.
Well, I appreciate that, Mr. Carl, and I appreciate your support and all the fine listeners, too.
Goodbye, Joe, me gotta go, me oh my. Me gotta go pull a P-roll down the bayou. I Yvonne, sweetest one, me oh my. Son of a gun, I'm gonna have me fun on the bayou.
My earliest recollection of Christopher's musical ability, he could sing on pitch. He was probably about 3 or 4 then. He just loved guitar. He had a plastic Muppet Babies guitar he got in his first Easter basket. And he would strum that guitar and pretend to sing.
When he was about 5 years old, we had a ham supper here in the fellowship hall of the church. He had a cowboy hat on, his little cowboy boots, and had a little guitar with him. And his granddaddy, Tom, played the guitar for him to sing. And I don't know if you've seen him since then, but that little foot was flipping back and forth all the time he was singing. And the guitar was almost bigger than he was, and definitely the cowboy hat was.
School was not easy for Christopher at all. Come to find out, he was dyslexic.
And then we found in kindergarten that he had hearing loss. It was mild in one ear, but it was in the higher frequency, so it didn't really bother him. But in his right ear, he had a moderate hearing loss.
Music was his salvation in a way because he felt confident when he sang, and he was a ham. Elvis Presley moves and everything all the time. He was just really caught up in music.
It was 2nd grade. He wanted to bring his guitar to school, like in show and tell. And we were a little bit hesitant about it because we didn't know if the kids would kind of make fun of him. So one afternoon he did. It was an Elvis song, and the children, you could have heard a pin drop.
My name was Elvis. He was entered in the Wayne County Fair talent contest, and he walked on the stage, strummed the guitar and sang Elvis's All Shook Up, won third place. First time he ever sung anywhere.
And the crowd just went wild. And he was probably about 9 years old then.
And from then it was on. It has just not stopped since.
Taylor actually walked out on stage with him with a little guitar. And I just won't ever forget how precious that moment was, because Taylor, he just stood there beside his brother and kind of looked up at him like, you know, he was just a big star or something, you know.
I remember when I was little, before I ever started playing, I'd always go anyway, because of course in my family, you know, and I would always tell people, you know, that's my brother. And he's a great songwriter. He's a great singer. He never gives himself enough credit, that's for sure. And he's my best friend.
You look different tonight. Something about you. I don't know what it is. It's something about you. Is it your hair?
No, not my hair. Although my hair did do okay today. I think it's the new shampoo I'm using. It's called Aussie, Australian for hair.
It might be your beard.
I think it's this jacket.
No, it's not the jacket. I didn't even notice it. I was singing around, local stuff by myself, and then I did Myrtle Beach, Christmas in Dixie. I was 12. My voice was getting ready to change. I was right at that age, and it started changing, and I was thinking, I'm losing my voice. I'm not going to be able to sing. It was a constant. I worried my mom and daddy to death about it.
A guy named Adam Barber from Johnston County, he called me and he wanted to do an album on Chris, because at that time Taylor was not singing or playing. He wanted me to set it up in Nashville with Nashville musicians. I remember Chris doing a song, When It's Peach Picking Time in Georgia. And man, he sang it so good. He sang like he'd been in the business forever, you know. And he just knocked everyone out. 12 years old.
When it's peach picking time in Georgia, apple picking time in Tennessee, cotton picking time in Mississippi, everybody picks on me.
And about the time I was 13 or 14, my brother decided he wanted to play. And he told my parents, he said, I want a mandolin. And Mom and Daddy were like, you don't need a mandolin. You're not going to play that.
Taylor never offered any interest in music at all. And when he was 10, he said one day, I want a mandolin, Mama. And so we rode to Raleigh. We bought a mandolin. And on the way home, I was thinking, this is going to be under the bed collecting dust in a week. In a week, he was playing and singing harmony.
Love thy neighbor as thyself. Do unto him as you have to do to you.
But I can honestly say Taylor learned to play the mandolin as about as fast as anybody that I ever seen to play.
And sure enough, he learned and could sing harmony right off the bat. So my dad said, well, if I got to go, I'm gonna play something if I got to drive you anyway. So he started playing bass. We traveled to churches and fairs and just anywhere, and it just sort of grew from that.
I once knew a couple of fellers near my old homestead, and I just wished that all the world to live the way they did. They'd swap off work and lend each other money, mules, and plows, and I've seen them many times dividing milk from one old cow.
Taylor is very talented. He's more talented than I am on the instruments for sure. He could write if he wanted to. He just helps me write. He could write on his own. Great singer, but Taylor is one of the most complicated people. Taylor, you never know which Taylor you're gonna get that day, but he's super serious sometimes. He can't, and if he's not in a good mood, he can't hide it. So when you see Taylor, that's really Taylor. There's no put on, that's for sure. We're brothers, so we get along like brothers. We don't always see eye to eye, but most of the time we do. You know, we don't fuss and fight.
You said that before.
It's pretty there, but I can't leave here. Not unless, if I did, it would be.
So you would leave here to go to Nashville where there's nothing at all.
It would be if I went.
No, hang on. There would be nothing like at all what we grew up around. There's no agriculture or farming or anything in Nashville.
Nashville, what I would do is I would have a place to go out there, but I'd keep my house here, and the only way I'd go is if everybody went. I'm not going to leave my
So you
family.
have 2 houses there?
Yeah, I'd keep
One
my
here
house,
and one
yeah.
there. So you would come home and stay here or something?
Yeah, if I want, yeah, I do just like a lot of singers do, just like Rhonda does. She does that. She's got a house still
Who's
in
going to look
Brandon,
after your
Missouri.
house?
You can hire somebody to look after it. That's what all them do. What do you think they do? Come home and cut the grass every week? They got vacation homes and everything.
You honestly think you wouldn't worry about, where are you going to finance this?
Finance what?
Doing all this, having 2 houses, one here and one in Nashville. That's like some stuff Elvis would do.
It if I had.
Nashville, Tennessee, Music City, home of the Country Music Hall of Fame and the Grand Ole Opry. The Malpass Brothers played in Nashville when they toured with Merle Haggard. Last summer, they were invited to play downtown and appear on a Nashville television broadcast of Larry's Country Diner. They spent the day visiting some of their favorite places. Christopher and Taylor especially loved Gruhn Guitar, home of the world's largest collection of vintage instruments. When the store first opened, it was in the alley behind the Ryman.
I've played at the Ryman twice when we were with Merle. To play somewhere like that, you don't really feel worthy, you know, but it's special. Now, everything's so computerized. People are looking for something real, and this music was so real.
Everything good happened before we were born. All the good music.
This world's gotten really crazy. For somebody like me and Chris especially, we grew up a lot around older people and learned about the way things used to be, and I talked to people that lived through it and everything, and it's like everybody says it's nothing like it used to be. It's nothing like it used to be. And we listen to old music and stuff, and we both try to kind of ignore the world.
Although friends like Merle Haggard and George Hamilton IV are no longer there, and the Grand Ole Opry has opened to more contemporary musicians, Nashville is still a draw for Christopher and Taylor.
How are y'all doing? Hey, I'm Chris Malpass, my brother Taylor Malpass.
Hey, y'all.
Let's go and check out the store and see. We used to have some CDs in here. Do y'all carry any of our CDs now?
I wondered
Not only do they like the songs and instruments from another time, Christopher and Taylor are always on the lookout for vintage clothes.
Jesus came like a stranger in the night. Praise the Lord, I saw the light.
The Malpass boys said, all the people we want to see are in the graveyard. And I know they do visit the Louvins' graves. That says a lot for those guys.
They were 2 brothers from Sand Mountain, Alabama, and they started their career doing gospel music and wrote some of the most powerful gospel songs, you know, I think that were ever done. But they never really knew how famous they were, I don't think.
No, probably not.
So,
but their whole career is what shaped our career. I mean, we started the same way in churches, same way with the country thing. You know, we kind of made that change.
they had their differences, and Ira had his issues. He dealt with alcohol abuse, and he was a very good-hearted man, I think. I mean, writes the songs he wrote, and he definitely was more of a blessing to people than he probably thought he was.
Oh, why not tonight?
Oh, Why Not Tonight? That was, when I heard that song and heard that recitation, that's when I decided I wanted to give my heart to Christ, you know. And so Ira had a lot to do with
that. Every show we do Louvin songs, and of course we got Charlie Louvin's guitar, the same one that's on the picture and the headstone. We carry that on stage with us everywhere, you know. So they'll always be a part of our career, you know, on and off stage. So, very important to us.
Ira says his fame was not like a vapor that vanished with the dawn, for his etched upon the hearts of all mankind words and melodies that will remain as eternal as the God with whom he rests.
And then Charlie just says he bared his soul and set it to music. He sang from his heart, and we listened with ours, taking us back to an era that helped create and define one that sadly may never be again. And it probably won't. When somebody dies, all that talent can't just be gone. So maybe the Lord gives it, spreads it out to other people. Maybe you get a little bit of those people.
Back when I was doing time, there's a night I can't forget. A madman with a knife in hand tried to kill me while I slept.
I think music has kept us really close because it's something we were always involved in. Never knew it would go as far as it's gone. I saw Merle Haggard in 1978 at my high school here in Wayne County. Somebody would have told me then, you know, one day your boys will be singing with him. I would have bet $1 million if I'd have had it. That would have never happened.
I was fixing to call them on stage one night, and they were still both young. I says, I can see in the future that you boys are going to do good. I mean, you could see it in them when they were very young. I said, I want you to know one thing. Don't never forget where you come from.
I felt a mighty hand. Somehow my mama's prayers had worked again.
They love what they do, and they do what they do as if this is what they were put on the earth to do.
When they make it big, it's not a matter of if, when they make it big, because they're going to. I just firmly believe that's going to happen.
They're very grounded. If anybody can handle fame and fortune, they could.
They have a respect for one another, a love for one another, and have confidence in that. And when you have that, you don't have to change.
These guys are the real deal.
They're true musicians. They can do their own work, and they're not just copying the 50s and 60s. This is what they believe in. This is what they love.
I've always sort of felt like if you believed in what you were doing and you were good at it, and you portrayed that in what you did and how you did it, there would always be a little place for you. And I think those guys have sort of found that niche. You know, they've a little magic about them somehow.
Somehow my mama's prayers had worked again. God bless you. Thank you so much. We love y'all.
It was a busy year for the Malpass Brothers, and they were on the road more than ever. They made lots of new fans along the way. There's an artist who created their likeness in Easter candy. Yes, all Marshmallow Peeps. Fans Hazel and Ron Kunkelman drove 12 hours from Pennsylvania. There's a bootmaker in Oklahoma named Lisa who lost her young daughter last year. She said listening to the Malpass Brothers really helped in her time of grief, so Lisa made custom boots as a way to thank them.
I'm not going to try to persuade you. I'm just saying.
I know, but I know you're trying to make me feel guilty.
No, I'm really not.
You do a really good job.
I'm really not trying to make you feel guilty, but I can't pretend that I'm happy about it. If you want me to say, man, I can't wait for you to move. Hot dog. Is that how you want me to be? Because that's not how I'm going to be.
Taylor and Whitney have now moved to Roxboro, 2.5 hours from Goldsboro. Their home is filled with family mementos. Taylor's closet is filled with vintage suits, including the jacket he wore in the wedding, a replica of a blue jacket worn by Elvis Presley when he was married in 1967.
And this was my first tractor that my granddaddy bought me. It's a Farm Model Super 8. We started with toy model tractors. We play with them all the time. And we'd set those down and play guitars, you know. And it's kind of the same way now, sitting down doing the real thing.
Taylor has a new job, but he joins Christopher every weekend to make music.
We spent every day together growing up, and pretty much do now. You know, we talk every day, multiple times.
He's still hoping to have his own farm someday.
Me and Whitney talk about it a lot. I've told her, you know, I said if music come down to it and I wasn't able to travel anymore, you know, for a health problem or something like that, you know, I said I'd be happy doing this. I'd be happy for him, and I love it.
Taylor, I feel like, could do anything in the world and he would be happy because he's just a happy-go-lucky kind of guy, and he makes himself happy wherever he is. Christopher could no sooner divorce himself from music than he could cut off his right arm. It's just who he is. And a lot of times, because it is so difficult to leave home and to leave your baby and to leave your wife, you know, he struggles with that internally. But I know that the struggle would be much worse if he had to leave music. I don't think it would be healthy for him.
In September, during the week of Taylor's wedding, they lost their beloved grandmother, Christine Malpass.
So spend a lot of time out here just kind of relaxing. I love to come out here. It's the cliffs of the Noose. It's, of course, you know, natural-made cliff from years and years. And the voice I hear falling on my ear. It's where Grandma's from. So it's got a lot of family heritage here, and it's just, I mean, who wouldn't love that? And he walks with me and he talks with me. We're on the road 95% of the time. When I'm not playing, I'm talking about what I'm gonna do when I get home, or I'm gonna do this, or thinking about, you know. So it's constantly you're thinking about home. But when I'm on stage, I'm at home. You know, I'm loving what I'm doing, loving the crowd, and I'll never quit doing that. I've never done it to be famous. I've always done it just because I love it, and being able to make a living would be making it us. Family. That's the only reason I would, that and for sentimental reasons.
Yeah, and the only family I have here, I'll see every weekend. I'll still see y'all all the time.
As long as you don't quit playing music.
I ain't gonna quit playing music.
As far as just taking up roots and moving, the way I kind of look at it is everybody that's in Nashville is working outside of Nashville. I mean, they're all touring everywhere else. So if I'm gonna leave home, I just soon leave home from here as I had there, you know. I've decided just to keep my home base here and keep my roots.
My granddaddy always said all he ever wanted to do was make a name for himself, and I think the same way. If I can get where one day my kids meet somebody that says, I remember your daddy whenever he was doing so and so, you know, that would be fame to me.
Well, you know, a lot of people through their lives move away. And it doesn't matter where they move, there's always home. And most time they miss home, regardless of where they might be from. And you know, Goldsboro is home to us. We do a lot of traveling, but it's always good when you see that welcome to Wayne County, back to Goldsboro.
Babe, I've got to go. I gotta play another show. Could be the one we've been hoping for. It could change everything, or might be more of the same. If I don't try, no way we'll ever know. Now when I'm on the stage, I live 1,000 miles away. In my heart, right back here with you. So even when I'm gone, you're not there alone. When the show is over, I'll be heading home. Well, heading home to the family and the places I hold dear past the mile. Well, I can see them in my head, life's crystal clear. Heading home, where my world waits to meet me at the door. And it won't be long before my son sun. I'll grab my hat and